One of the minor joys, if I might put it that way, of this book is the footnotes. And there's a particular footnote where a certain Boris Johnson appears. And I think in the footnote the phrase moral vacuum is used. Can you explain to people listening why you think Boris Johnson made it to the top of your party, if it's still your party? Are you still a member of the Conservative Party?
Yeah, but I'm not sure there is one at the moment. I mean, there's a part of a Conservative Party. There are still some people I think are Conservatives, but I don't think it's a Conservative government. I think it's an English nationalist government, and I've said as I said in the past, it's unfortunately both populist and unpopular, which is a terrible combination. But Boris, I think, was best described in that report from his housemaster at school, Martin Hammond, who was actually a contemporary of mine at Oxford, a brilliant classicist who became a teacher, eventually headmaster of Tunbridge, after the City of London, I think. But as housemaster to Boris, he wrote a brilliant, a withering critique for Boris's father, in which he said something like, Boris thinks that it's churlish of the rest of us not to realise that he's exceptional, and thinks it's appalling that he should be obliged to follow all the rules, and that everybody else has to follow. And it's absolutely summarises the man to the T.
And yet he's Prime Minister.
Yes, well, it's a terrible weakness of my party. I think, just as I think it's worrying for the future that the Republicans and Democrats are in such a bad mess in the United States, so I think here it's really sad that the Conservative Party is split between Brexit right-wing Conservatives and others, that every move is determined, as far as the Prime Minister is concerned, by whether it's appealing to his right wing to keep him in office. That's part of the reason for, I think, the general sense of seediness and mendacity about the government. So I think all that's true. On the other hand, the Labour Party, I think Starmer's a perfectly decent man, but the way the Labour Party at the moment can't give a straight answer to the question whether or not they think the rail strike is a good idea is just a fundamental weakness on their part. So we're left with I think an aspiration for a decent, competent, generous-spirited, sensible political force in the middle, which nobody is at present providing.
Chris, you mentioned the rail strikes just now, and I can see this being weaponised very, very successfully by Boris Johnson. And, David Cameron famously described him as a greased pig. And in his kind of helter-skelter journey forward, this might be the next thing that keeps him going for a long period. And it's perfectly possible that he not only survives as Conservative leader, but that he actually wins the next election. Putting aside party politics, what would that do to the country?
Well, I think what it would do is to hasten the breakup of the Union. I think that's true of Scotland and England. I think it's probably a threat given the way in which the Northern Ireland Protocol is being played. Terrible, playing fast and loose with the most important peace agreement this country's reached in years over Northern Ireland. I think that we're talking about the possibility of the breakup of the Union in those circumstances.
So in those circumstances, you've suggested that Keir Starmer is not the most golden Labour leader of all, and I think many people would agree. But would you prefer to see him win the election and hold the Union together than the reverse? Well,
I'd prefer to see probably a coalition which held the Union together, because I think that's really in threat. You want to break up the Union, you send Boris Johnson up to Scotland.
So that suggests that for you, the Conservatives under Boris Johnson winning the next election would be a disaster.
I think that for me, the Conservatives, unless they change very radically, winning the next election would be a disaster for them and for the rest of us, because I don't think we have a Conservative government at the moment. I think, as I've said, we have an English nationalist government with all the consequences, and one that you can't trust.